Today we're going to review these. It's the new glassware from Kruve. Now you may remember Kruve from their sifter, their kind of coffee grounds focused set of sieves that I think was one of the first things that I reviewed on this channel. Well, this time they went to crowdfunding and I backed it. I think it was either Indiegogo or Kickstarter, and they have produced these two tasting glasses as well as a carafe that I think is pretty great actually. The carafe, you could put like a V60 on top, or like a Kalita, a Melita, a Clever, probably not an AeroPress, but you could obviously just brew in something else and decant if you're feeling fancy. We'll come back to you in a second. Now the two glasses, there's two different shapes that are in many ways the same shape actually. So if you turn one of them upside down, the shapes are actually identical, but not. So I don't know if this was about maybe like molds, or I don't really know how you make glass. I don't know if this was a convenience or a stylistic decision. They are dual walled, which is mostly good. Now I don't like most dual walled glassware because it keeps coffee way too hot. Here you've got kind of a dual walled section that you hold, and then inside it this sort of insert with a single walled section that you drink from, which is nice. I definitely like drinking from single walled much more than I like drinking from double walled. And the shapes are there to sort of enhance certain aspects of your coffee tasting, right? That's the idea behind the name EQ. You can sort of add some mids or some bass, I guess, to it. That's the kind of idea. There's two things to talk about here as a review. One, do they work? And two, do you like them? Do I like them? Do they look good? And we can start with the first one because it's kind of easier. Now, the sort of science around tasting and the influence of glassware is actually pretty solid. And I think the thing that you'll notice the clearest is probably the sort of width of the rim at the drinking point, right? Like that kind of directs the coffee in this case onto the tongue. And actually the wider the rim, in this case, this one here, the more of your tongue it will hit. And this tends to enhance the kind of mouthfeel of a coffee that you're drinking. Something a little narrower, you get a more direct, linear, leaner kind of feeling from that kind of coffee because it's directing it just down the middle of the tongue. And actually, despite the fact that you feel like it shouldn't, it does have quite a big impact on how you perceive the texture, the body, the mouthfeel of the coffee. Which is interesting. And this is definitely well researched. You see this in wine glasses, unquestionably. Now, they do also make a couple of other claims. One is on headspace. Obviously, the headspace in these is a little different. This is much wider. In theory, you could argue this is a bigger headspace. It would trap more aromatics, whereas this is narrower. But I guess you could argue that this is therefore more condensed. I don't know. In my tests, I didn't really notice a huge difference in aroma between the two glasses. And day to day, if I'm just drinking coffee, I don't really spend that much time just sniffing my cup. That's kind of a bit weird. It's not a part of it. I'm just drinking, enjoying, thinking about that. They do also say one thing, that the sort of open area changes the oxidation of the coffee, which changes the acidity, which is new to me. I would imagine that just the act of drinking, the agitation of moving the glass backwards and forwards would be enough to introduce lots of fresh oxygen into the glass. So I can't imagine you'd really have a substantial difference in oxidation, and I'm not sure I'd ever want much oxidation. Anyway, that's kind of that. Now, before we go any further, I should probably just put some coffee in these. Now this is a Kenyan coffee, and I would imagine in this it's going to be a little leaner, a little brighter, a little kind of crisper. Whereas in this it might enhance that kind of juicy, fuller aspect of the coffee as it spreads more coffee over my tongue. You know, you could argue that there's some confirmation bias going on here, but I don't really worry about that. They unquestionably feel quite different to me. They kind of taste quite different. My brain is thinking about them in kind of a different way. And you know, honestly, given the choice, I'd probably drink out of this one a lot more than this one because I like that kind of rounder, fuller feeling with coffees. But it is just kind of fun. You do you. Now, that brings us to the other part of this, which is, how do I feel about how they look? And I feel a bunch of ways about this. If a random family member walked into the kitchen and found me stood drinking out of this, there'd be some explaining to do. You know, they're definitely quite unusual. I would worry that, you know, you would feel a touch pretentious drinking out of something like this. Style-wise, they're kind of weird. They are I don't know, I'm kind of torn on this one. They've got like a little bit of Googie architecture, sort of vibes about them. Someone mentioned the Jetsons, and I thought that was a super good call. You know, it feels a little bit like something that they might have for an extra on set in the background of a Star Trek movie when they go to a bar. It's got kind of a retro futuristic vibe to me, and if you like that, that's cool. If you don't like that, I guess that's cool too. Now, they come as a set of 2 like this, so you get one of each. A little bit awkward if, you know, you share coffee with someone on the day-to-day and you both like the same glass. That might get a bit awkward. And they are, of course, glass, which means they are much more breakable than something like ceramic. I would definitely worry about that. I love Zalto glassware for wine, and having broken 1 or 2 of those, you get a bit weird about them and you suddenly stop using them as much. So, you know, I would imagine at $25 a glass, you break one, the other kind of goes away for special occasions. That would be a thought at the back of my brain. But some people really like how these look, some people really don't. That's up to you. Do they work? Yeah, they do. You can have a little bit more of what you like about a coffee, and I think that's kind of cool. I will say, just going back to the carafe, I think this is beautiful. I think on all the glasswares, they've done a cute thing, which is print inside the double wall with the kind of Kruve and EQ logo. I think that's a really lovely touch. I think the carafe is very pretty. It doesn't have a ton of space for swirling. I'm not sure I'd actually use it for a wine decanter or something like that, but as a way to serve coffee that looks, I think, lovely. I'm pretty into the decanter. Now, I backed these actually out of my own money before Patreon was a thing in my life. It was a good while ago when this started, but for no real reason, Kruve have sent me extra. So I have 2 sets of these glasses to give away. I'm giving it away on my Patreon. So thank you to Kruve for giving me those, and I hope they find a happy home. And that's my review of the Kruve EQ glassware. I'd be really interested to know your thoughts. Did you back this as well? Do you have them? Are you a cafe using them? Are you using them at home? Do you like them? Do you have a preference? Are you like me and kind of lean towards this one because you just like a little bit more richness and roundness and body and texture in your coffee sometimes? I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you think they're beautiful? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.